from basketball. We're going to stick with the NBA, but shift from the finals, Rob. News coming out today that James Harden, it looks like he will sign, this is according to reports, a report, that he will sign a 2-year extension with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, here's the deal, Rob. Harden could sign a 4-year, $233 million extension. Okay? But it looks like if he signs a 2-year extension, he'll opt into this next year's deal, which would pay him $47.4 million, and then sign a 2-year extension, if this report is accurate. And that 2-year extension, obviously, maybe around 2 years worth over $100 million, but obviously less than half of the $233 million he could get with a 4-year extension. So, Rob, I want to ask you, not should the Sixers do it, because I'll give you this answer. If I'm the Sixers, because the report says, Rob, they're reluctant to give him the 4 years, $233 million. And if I'm the Sixers, I'd be reluctant too, Rob. I mean, let's face it, he was a disappointment in the playoffs. They didn't even get to the conference finals. And you had what you would think were two of the best players in the league. I know Embiid was banged up, but still, Harden didn't play especially well against Miami, and they went down meekly in the second round. Now, Harden will be 33 in August, Rob. So if I'm Philadelphia, I'd rather give him, opt in, we'll give you a 2-year extension. I can live with that. I honestly, as disappointed as he was, as old as he is getting, as much as he did not play that well last season, I still would give him the 2-year extension. But I wouldn't give him the 4 years. But I want to flip it. If you're James Harden, should he sign the 2-year extension?
No way, no how should he take a 2-year extension. Chris, we already see his skills diminishing, going the other way. He's getting older, not younger. Do you see what I'm saying? I need to take this now. I need to force the issue before they pull the curtain back and I'm fully exposed. I'm dead serious. Like if I'm James Harden, no. You gave up all of this for me, blah, 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 blah. You're going to have to sign me.
Yeah,
he's got them over a barrel. How? I'm not signing for 2 years. You're going to let him walk, Chris? Can't let him walk. Can't. You gave up too many assets.
Right. So he go ahead.
Yeah, I just think he can force their hand, even if they don't really want to do it, Chris, and we know this, but I don't know what choice you have. Once you make that, unless you would have signed him when you made the trade, saying I can't give up these many assets without knowing for sure you're going to be here. You know what I mean? Or some deal like that. But to just say, well, we'll wash our hands. What? You don't want to be here, or we're not giving you 4 years. And then what? Ben Simmons is gone. All the other people you traded in that deal, the draft picks are gone. And you have nothing. You're left holding an empty bag. You can't do it if you're the Sixers.
It's interesting because I agree that Harden does have them between a rock and a hard place, Rob. But at the same time, he can't just walk away. Because, he can. But here are the teams, Rob, that have big-time cap space. Indiana, Portland, Orlando, San Antonio, and Detroit. Now, there's a very, very big question mark as to whether any of those teams would even offer James Harden a max deal. But even if they did, if he just wants to take the money, fine. But I don't think James Harden wants to go to any of those places, Rob.
Yeah, I get that.
So it would have to be a sign and trade. And in a sign and trade, obviously, I can get something decent back.
I get that, but I also believe that at this point he could say, I'm not winning. I played with all these other guys. Where, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to go back.
Do you want a guy like that?
No, but
I mean, really, because if that's his attitude, you ain't winning in Philly.
No, I know, but I'm just saying you could say that and justify it in some of these other markets that are just looking for somebody marquee. James, take the ball. Do what you did in Houston. You want to shoot 30 times and score 40 points a night? You know what I'm saying? Like he could just say, I'm going to just ball out and fill up the stat sheet.
But who's
and look
doing
my
that?
Numbers. No,
Portland's not going to do that because they got Damian
Orlando
Lillard.
could.
Orlando's not going to do that because they got a bunch of young guys. They got the top pick in the draft. So they're not going to give the ball to James Harden and just say, do your thing. We're building for the future. Detroit's got Cade Cunningham. They don't want to take the ball out of his hands.
The future is now.
That's not San Antonio's. That's a nice cliche,
you're saying
but that's not.
You're saying there's no spot for James Harden.
If I were running one of those teams, I'll ask you, if you were running the Orlando Magic and you got a nice little crop of young players, which they do, and you got the number one pick, are you bringing in James Harden? You ain't winning with him, and you're just ruining your young guys.
But
so that's out. I think you understand that's out.
It is a business.
Okay,
and
what?
We've seen. I'm just saying, Chris. We've seen moves made from the star power, from the idea of selling tickets to making a team more relevant, rather than who's waiting around for a 4-year. You could say in Detroit, oh, you got Cade now. They haven't won a playoff game since Joe Dumars in that Pistons team. Like, they haven't won a playoff game in 12 years.
There is no way they're bringing in James Harden.
I'm not saying he's going there.
If you were still a columnist in Detroit, would you write that they should go after James Harden?
No, but I'm just saying there's always somebody in a league.
I'm just saying of the 5 teams I gave you. Because here's the thing. Look,
Indiana's going nowhere, and Orlando. Those two. I would say those two.
Orlando's got young talent, Rob. I mean, they got nice young pieces. And they're about to get probably Jabari Smith, who, and if they don't get him, is Holmgren or, Paolo. Like, they're going to get a good player. And so there's no way if I'm Orlando, I'm throwing all that away to give the ball to James Harden. Remember, too, these teams don't have Mike D'Antoni as their coach. So they got a nice, Jalen Suggs is there. Cole Anthony looked pretty good this year. They got some nice young little talent there in Orlando. So I think Orlando's out. I think Portland's out because they're not just going to give the ball to Harden when they got Damian Lillard. San Antonio, we know that's not their culture. Detroit ain't doing it because they got Cade Cunningham. And who was the fifth team? I can't even think of the fifth team. But here's what I say about Indiana. We've talked about Westbrook. They've been thrown out there. Maybe they would go for Westbrook. Right? Give up Buddy Hield and Malcolm Brogdon, get off their contracts, take Westbrook for a year. I agree with you on Westbrook in Indiana. 1 year, maybe averages a triple-double. The fans come out to see him. And then after this season, next season, you let him go and you got $50 million. But that's the problem. Harden, you would have to lock up for 4 years. You see what I'm saying? So there would be no benefit to bringing in Harden unless you just think fans want to come see James Harden make your team mediocre by himself, because that's what they would be without anybody else. And you'd have to have him signed as a max guy for 4 years. So I think, I'm not saying he doesn't have any leverage, Rob. I just think Philly's got a little too, because it's like, where are you going? And if you want to go to a good team, then we got to talk to them about a sign and trade.
Yeah, I understand, but I think at this point, when you look at his how he's played and where he fits in and the toll that his lifestyle's taken on him,
right?
And he might just be like, dude, I'm going to get this cash. I'm not putting it, I'm not going to take a 2-year contract and then fall off all the way where I'll never get that. I could go somewhere and get it from somebody and play. I believe that you have to maximize, as you're an older player, what's out there for you. And taking a 2-year kind of hometown discount and we'll see kind of deal. I just don't see him doing it, especially since the Sixers aren't guaranteed anything. They're not guaranteed that they're going to win a championship in the East with the teams that are there. Right. There's no guarantee.
I hear you. Look, Rob, ultimately it depends on his motivation. And we don't know. That's $1 million question with James Harden, right? I mean, is he motivated to win a championship? I mean, you might think so. He left Houston.
He just
to go
left
to
Brooklyn.
Right. You think Brooklyn's got a great shot. And he left them to go to Philly and doesn't maximize the opportunity. So I don't know. Because my thing is this, Rob. If his motivation is I want to win a championship, we know he's already made a ton of money. And I'm not saying, money shouldn't be a factor. I'll say if I was in his shoes, my number one goal, he's already made $400 million probably. My number one goal would be winning a championship. And if I could sign a 3-year, over the course of 3 years, make $150 million. If I really think we got a good chance to win a championship. In my career, I've stayed places where I could have went somewhere else and got more money, but I stayed there because I was happy. I liked the bigger platform and things like that. So it depends on what Harden's goal is and his motivation. If he thinks this is his best chance to win a championship, then I think you could stay. I don't think it should be. I mean, again, to each his own. But for me, it wouldn't just be about getting every last dollar when I already am worth probably $500 million. And so that's where I would
maybe
be.
A third of that would be already at the strip club. So you got to try to recoup that, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, he's known to be. Isn't his jersey retired at the strip club in Houston or something? So, yeah,
I'm trying to get on that
he
level.
may not have been smart with his money. I don't know. But I think he should stay in Philly. Rob, his reputation has taken such a hit recently.
Oh, it would be bad if he left again. There was no doubt. But I don't know if he cares.
Point, if he left to go to one of those, like a bad team that was just willing to pay him, I mean, he would spend the rest of his career playing in anonymity. And his legacy would take a hit. Look, he's already a Hall of Famer. We all know that. But it would definitely hurt his legacy.